Hi, welcome back to another Best Anime Recaps video. Here I will be explaining the movie Blood, The Last Vampire, whose main protagonist is a girl named Seiya. The film begins at a train station. Passengers disembark in an orderly fashion, paying no attention to the action around them. Seiya keeps her head down, never looking up, and looks to be wielding a katana sword that has been covered up. All of the people disembark. The conductor gives the signal for the train to proceed to its destination. Meanwhile, Seiya and another male traveler are confined to a single cabin. After a hard day, he's slumped down, relaxing. She raises her head and looks at the sleeping man. He glances back at her as though he can feel her stare. The train soon enters a tunnel, and lights begin to flash in each compartment in a cascade fashion. When it arrives at their cabin, she leaps into action, darting towards the male occupant. As he desperately tries to flee this unexpected onslaught, his face looks like he's crapped his pants. But Seiya pulls her sword and cuts his back before he can get to the next cabin. As she takes up a blood-stained piece of paper, the lights come back on. 3 blood marks on the cabin door reveal what has just occurred. When the train arrives in Asakusa, the other passengers begin to disembark. Unaware of the murder, David and his companion Louis push by them, calling out to Seiya as she exits the train. They inquire about the whereabouts of the Chiropteran. She points them in the direction of the cabin. Chiropterans are bat-like animals with human-like intellect. They masquerade themselves as humans and feast on human blood. They return to their former shape when slain. She complains to David about her blunt sword and asks for a new one. He says that they don't have time since a new Chiropteran has been discovered. He passes her the mission paperwork and says that swords of such caliber are tough to get by. After studying the body, Louis informs his boss that what Seiya killed was a person, not a Chiropteran, but he's been dismissed. He keeps harping on about it, oblivious to the fact that he hasn't gotten the hint. Seiya, irritated, takes him by the rambling mouth. David begs her to let him leave. She walks away before he can finish the mission brief, even dumping the paperwork in the trash. The agent swiftly collects it before reprimanding Louis for bothering her. He informs him that based on their information, she is the last remaining original vampire. David and Louis work for the Red Shield, a U.S. government organization. In another part of town, an escort named Mary was discovered dead at her home. The police conduct an investigation, and it is discovered that she was dating an American soldier. Some of her co-workers at the site believe she was killed and her death was staged to appear as a suicide. One escort recalls a similar instance from the previous month at the base school. They express concern about the rise in such instances affecting their line of work. Seiya swings by an antique shop on her way to school to engage in some window shopping. Before continuing, she spies a katana in a glass display case and makes a mental note of it. Seiya walks along the school halls. Makiho, the school nurse, greets her. The nurse recognizes that she is Japanese and attempts to converse with her in Japanese. Seiya ignores her and merely inquires about the location of the principal's office. Makiho leads her to the office, where David greets Seiya and presents her to the principal. He dismisses her to class but informs her that the school will be hosting a Halloween celebration. Nurse Makiho shares her worries about the school throwing a celebration after a student died on the premises. It falls on deaf ears as the principal tells her to get back to work. As David updates her on the task, Seiya dislikes the school uniform. More corpses are beginning to surface as a result of this, and they conclude that there are more Chiropterans in the region than they previously assumed. The agent stresses the need of finding and eliminating them before they go into hibernation. She urges him to merely keep an eye on things and find her a new sword. The bell tolls, signaling the end of class. Seiya's classmate Sharon attempts to be sociable, but she indicates her desire to be left alone. Sharon and her companion Linda leave, taking offense. As the kids prepare for the Halloween party, Seiya takes advantage of the situation to conduct research. She makes her way to the school infirmary, where she discovers evidence showing that the Chiropterans feed on their victims. As she hears footsteps approaching the hospital, she prepares to attack. Makiho walks in and is taken aback by Seiya's presence. Seiya, being a vampire, later overhears Sharon requesting the instructor for permission to take Linda to the infirmary since she is sick. The nurse converses with Sharon as Linda lies in bed. Linda sits up with her back to the wall and begins secretly communicating with her companion. Seiya storms in with a katana in hand, slicing down on Linda with a single slice. Makiho yells. She defends herself, fearful that the new pupil would hack her up, but Seiya pushes her out of the way, slashing Sharon's arm as she pulls the medicine cabinet between them. Before fleeing, she lets out a horrible cry that shatters the lights and windows. These two are unmistakably Chiropterans. Still in shock, Seiya hits the nurse and tells her to forget what she has just seen. She takes her shattered sword and scales the base fence. When Makio checks on Linda, she discovers a chiropteran body. Sharon staggers her way into the quarters. She covers herself with one of the Halloween banners before informing the third chiropteran of the situation. It is revealed to be one of the escorts. She walks to the rear of the pub and lights a fire, transforming herself into her beast form. When the agents hear the call, they rapidly change their direction. Seiya enters the antique store in search of the katana she spotted before. Back at school, the nurse pursues Sharon's blood trail into the Halloween party. She makes her way among the crowds of youngsters and adults who are dancing. Seiya watches her from a distance, her borrowed blade in hand, waiting for her time to attack. The nurse searches for her pupil with vigor. Even the extremely loud scene begins to dull and fade into the background as she nears the end of the trail and comes face to face with a shrouded bent-over person. As it turns to face Makio, her expression changes from interest to horror. Sharon has totally transformed into a chiropteran. Seiya darts in front of the nurse and unleashes a strike, but the sword bends, revealing that it was a fake. The original vampire is punched out of the dance hall by the monster. It captures Makio before she can scream, cloaking her in the banner. It silently departs from the party. The fact that it was Halloween aided the creature. The partygoers were completely unaware of what was going on. They most likely assumed it was a realistic costume. Seiya catches up and stabs the chiropteran with the knockoff sword, allowing the nurse to flee. Meanwhile, David has located the third just outside the base. He tries blasting it to stop its advance, but it doesn't work. He hurries back to the base with the new sword in hand. All of the uproar is drowned out by the sounds of the partying. Makio, the scared nurse, collides with a soldier outdoors. He dismisses her, but she tries to explain the problem as she walks him to the scene. However, he is attacked and slaughtered. Seiya catches up to the creature and tosses her damaged sword at it. It retreats after being wounded. She takes up the soldier's weapon and tells Makio to go. Another soldier stops them because they've entered a forbidden area. He asks that they identify themselves. She does this by knocking him out. The two enter a truck hangar, and Seiya hands the pistol to the nurse, stating that she has been marked by the chiropteran. She has seen their true appearance, thus they will not let her survive. The only choice is to first kill them. She is intrigued and inquires as to what they are. According to the vampire, they are demons that feed on human blood. She also emphasizes that they must lose a lot of blood in one hit in order to die. That's something the gun can't accomplish. She offered her the pistol as a final resort to end her own life. She drops the weapon and begins to pray, stunned by her revelation. Seiya hears activity outside and hurries to the gate, only to discover that it is closed. The light goes out as she struggles to force the door open, and a creature crashes through the skylight. Makio fires a series of shots as the creature approaches her, doubtful of her accuracy. A stray bullet hits one of the vehicle's fuel tanks, engulfing the demon in flames. Seiya hears David shooting at a chiropteran. She signals her location, and a second explosion raises the temperature within the hangar. As a result, both the nurse and the demon recover consciousness. They have unfinished business, therefore it seeks to consume her. Seiya cuts them off. Meanwhile, David makes his way to the hangar, only to discover that it has been blocked off by the knocked-out soldier. Seiya becomes overwhelmed and is hurt by the monster since she lacks an appropriate weapon. When she sees this, Makio loses hope. Putting the pistol to her head, Seiya commands the nurse to get inside a car, which she then uses to ram down the door. David hurls the new sword towards her, and she snatches it with one fluid stroke, cutting the demon in half. After witnessing the death of its companion, the lone chiropteran develops wings and takes flight. The agent informs Louis of the unconscious nurse's position and the predicament. David and Seiya pursue the demon as it tries to stow away aboard a departing cargo jet, but eventually catch up to it. She strikes the chiropteran, gravely injuring it, and stands over the dying beast, allowing some of her blood to flow into its mouth. Strangely, this is the only moment in this whole ordeal where she smiles. Louis comes and saves the nurse before the local cops arrive. Following that, Makio is quizzed by government officials regarding the events of that night. She is asked to identify Seiya from a photograph taken in 1892 with the title Vampire. The evidence of Seiya's struggle with the chiropterans has been hidden. David and Seiya have also vanished, and with nothing to back up her story, she wonders whether they are still fighting the chiropterans. The end. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe as we bring out more videos like this every week. Thanks for watching and take care.